Welcome to Breaking Ties, Destination Divorce. This is your go-to source for practical advice and support while you go through the divorce process. Join us each weekday for a quick chat where we'll cover a variety of topics such as child custody, property division, and self-care. Together, we'll explore emotional, financial, and legal aspects of divorce and help you find the best path forward for you and your family. Here's your host and Certified Divorce Financial Analyst professional, Mike Fulkerson.
Hello and welcome back to day 2 of the Breaking Ties interview series. And we're going to talk with a professional who assists those either before or after the divorce process. And they're going to answer some great questions, maybe some common questions you have or more advanced questions. I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, and with me today is Kristina Hughes. And Kristina is a luxury travel designer with Travel A Latte. So we're going to get some really great information like we did yesterday. And if you haven't listened to yesterday's episode, please go back and listen to it. Kristina introduces herself a little bit more in detail and how she got into travel. And, we had some really good questions. So you're going to want to go back and check that out. So welcome back to the podcast, Kristina. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm great. Thanks.
Excellent. Well, I know the information yesterday was fantastic. It really was. And so I'm looking forward to today's questions. And, yesterday, we chatted a little bit about traveling solo after divorce and kind of some thoughts on where to begin. When we're, what if someone's divorced with kids, and now they're traveling with kids by themselves? Would our destinations change? Where do we start with planning for, say, a family type of trip, but it's, mom and kids or dad and kids?
Yeah. So I think that's a great question. And something that, I get all the time as far as just even traveling with kids. So I'm a specialist in designing trips for families and for traveling with kids. And that's a common question anyways, is I can't even take my kid to a restaurant for more than an hour. How am I supposed to take them to Europe or, to another destination? Like it just seems so overwhelming. And so I think one tip is, have somebody in your pocket that you can help, that can help you is something obviously I'd recommend as a travel advisor because, it is scary and hard to if you're not used to it, to figure out how to do it all yourself. And, something that for me as a travel advisor, I am not one that just puts together an itinerary and sends it to you. And then you are off on your own and you have to still figure a lot out. Like I'm there through the whole process and can kind of help, guide. And if you're in Europe and if something happens, like a train's canceled, things like that, you have someone to contact. So that's a lot of peace of mind, I think, especially if you're traveling solo and with kids. But, I think it's the same way of traveling by yourself. Knowing where you want to go is kind of, what are you dreaming of? What do you feel like you need as the adult, right? And anywhere you take your kids is going to be great. You can make it great. So again, if it's a beach vacation, if it's a mountain vacation, if it's a international vacation, I think that any of those are great with kids. And just really focusing on different activities that are kid friendly and things like that. I think any of those, there's a lot of options, but it may feel scary, but it is doable with the right tools. And I think the memories that you make with your kid on vacation is different than what you would have, if you're not. And I strongly feel that way. I've noticed myself, when I'm on vacation, I am a different person because I'm unplugged. I don't have, I got to do the dishes and I got to do the laundry and I got to do this and that and this and that. And I have this bill that needs paid and I have this and that, you have so many demands on a day-to-day basis between work and home and kids and, run the kids to this sport and that and all these things. But when you're traveling, you're with your child and you're in the new place and you're just able to enjoy it and make those new memories. And I think for me that's something that I think is really important.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, being able to be in the moment when you're on vacation is a whole lot different than being in the moment when you're in your day-to-day kind of just flow. Because you got your routines and you got your patterns and you got your things and you know all the stuff. But when you're on vacation, you don't have all that overarching pieces of life that are just intruding on the day-to-day kind of thing. You get to actually spend time with your kids, enjoy them and stuff. And after divorce, that's very important, is to keep that connection to your children, whether you're the custodial parent or you're the parent that moved out. And so you want to make sure that you spend that time wisely. Now, we have the trip planned and we're flying to a fantastic destination. It's time to pack for the trip. I know this is kind of crazy. It's tricky with kids. Can you share some thoughts on what we should bring on the plane versus what we should, check into luggage kind of thing?
I have a lot of tips and tricks that I only have so much time for right now, but yes, I think that it depends on the age of the kids. If you have older kids and teenagers, packing is not very difficult compared to when you have small kids, toddlers, infants. It can be definitely a challenge. I traveled over 30 countries with a 1.5-year-old and a 4-year-old. So I know. And I got obviously good at having a system of, this is the packing list. And this, if you have a packing list, you just go by that. But yeah, car seats and strollers and things like that are things, you have to consider. Are you driving there? Are you going to be using public transportation? How are you getting around? There'll be a lot of considerations with that. But having activities on you, have a backpack and have activities for the kids to do. So we always traveled with, little sticker books and a couple of the kids' favorite toys. My son loves Legos, so he always has a couple little Legos in his bag that he can just play with. Or my daughter with a couple little Barbies, or something like that they enjoy, they would play with at home. Bring those things. Come prepared with multiple little activities that you can kind of change it up. And there are some really good options. There's a from the dollar section in Target, there are these little blocks that you can get that have literally traveled all over Europe with us. And the kids still play with them. And they are the best $1 spent ever because the kids just love them. And all ages of kids that of our friends have used them as well. So, just coming prepared, having things with you. Luggage wise, if you're traveling checked versus carry on, I always recommend having your basics. So your medication, toothbrush, a change of clothes, those kinds of things, having something in your bag, just in case luggage were to get lost. But, otherwise, again, I could share a lot of tips.
Yeah, and tips are great. And having a resource is great. I like the fact that you mentioned earlier that if people have an issue or something, you're available to help them and get through whatever challenges they may be facing on their trip. And while it may be far and few between, it's still a nice peace of mind for anyone traveling. So I think that's a great part of the service you provide.
Yeah, definitely.
So this actually concludes the second of our 5 days. So I want to have everybody check out day 1. Also, encourage you to join us tomorrow as we continue our discussion on travel and divorce. So Kristina and I would like to thank you again for joining us today on this episode of Breaking Ties, the interview series. Should you have any questions for Kristina, her information is going to be in the description. You can reach out to her. She is happy to assist. Divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. And we will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.